Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm bringing you one of my all-time favorite builds in Diablo 2 Resurrected. It is the Bonespear Necromancer, arguably one of the weaker builds back in the original game, but in D2R the synergy bonus of Bonespear got buffed at a certain point from 7 to 8%. I know that sounds like nothing, but keep in mind there are 4 synergies to max out, hence the damage ramps up real bad. Also, if you ever needed a reason to play a character to 99, the Bone Necro is for you, because to reach the full damage potential you need to be level 98, if I remember correctly, due to the amount of skill points you need to max all those synergies. Furthermore, not only is this my preferred key set farming machine, it is also one of the best ladder starters in my humble opinion. I started a season many times with it, and yeah, why? You will know why when we talk about the gear choices. Easy ladder start, insane scaling into the endgame, and a powerhouse when it comes to farming and even G-rushing players 8 lobbies. Trust me, I did that for 24 hours straight as a sub goal on Twitch. The build is viable, okay? With that being said, let's get started. So let's talk a little bit about leveling, right? So in my case, I just G-rushed this character, you know, just within 3 hours get the character to level 75 and kill Bane, easy peasy, equip him in Enigma and go. But what if you want to start a season with? Which is a really good choice. Reason being is a runebird called White. This gives you nothing less than 8 to Bonespear, so this is a +8 weapon to your main attack, which you can wear already with level 35. So right before you enter Nightmare mode, you have a +8 weapon. That's the same damage output as if you would wear 2 Heart of the Oak runebirds. I think that's very telling. This is hands down the best in slot weapon for this build. More about that when I go over Endgame Gear, but let's say you're a fresh Necromancer. How to level? Bear with me, this time around I did not have an example character because I'm playing the current season, so I don't actually have time to fool around. But I would highly recommend you progress through normal mode with the Skellies. They are very strong in normal mode. Just dump every other point in Raise Skeleton. Put 1 point in Corpse Explosion. And use amp damage. That's all you need for normal mode. As soon as you hit level 17, you can vendor shop the base for this runebird from the NPC called Drognan, which is located in Act 2. Keep in mind it needs to be a normal game. Why do you need to be level 17? Well, because reasons called game mechanics. In order to spawn a +3, right? And now, very important. The first thing you should do, you reopen your game as many times as you need in order to have the entrance next to the NPC. So you can reset the store real quick, alright? So as soon as you read the Rocky Wastes, you can go back to town. And he will offer new wands. So you check the wands. I mean, for the veteran players out there, this is self-explanatory, don't use a blue one. But if you never played a Necromancer, or maybe if you play this game for the first time or whatever, it needs to be a white one. Like, quite literally a white or a gray one. And another very important point is, let's say you get one with 3 to Bonespear, but it has no sockets. That's not a problem. You can Larsuk socket quest the base. You can Larsuk socket quest the base and it gets 2 sockets. Unless it is a picture like this. Okay. So the bone looking wand is alright. It gets 2 sockets for certain. This one gets 2 sockets for certain. But this one, like the, I don't even know how I should call it, like the Indiana pipe looking one. This will only get 1 socket if you give it to Larsuk. So keep that in mind, alright guys? If you cannot get one with 3 to Bonespear and 2 sockets. You can also try your luck with the cube. You can use the cube recipe but it's only a chance to get 1 or 2 sockets. So I would just vendor shop a one with 3 to Bonespear and give it to Larzuk. As long as it's the right base ward. Alright? The runes for it, Doll IO. I mean, I think the Doll rune is a little bit higher. I'm not too sure. So maybe you find the Doll rune only in Nightmare mode. But yeah, you shop the base with level 17. You make this rune word ASAP, as soon as possible. And this will carry you all the way. This rune word will carry you all the way. Since it's a +8 weapon, it's ridiculously overpowered. Believe me. This is the best in slot weapon. Other than that, that's basically it for leveling. You want this and faster cast rate. The preferred breakpoint is 125. That's the highest frame. Will tremendously increase your damage output, because this is just like a railgun. Just a constant beam of damage, right? That's for leveling. Start with the skellies for normal mode. Very lazy and laid back playstyle. Very good for a group. You're a good asset for a ladder starter group, since you provide amp damage. Yeah. That's how I at least level a Necromancer when I start a season with, right? And now we will talk about a little bit more about the mid setup without Enigma and stuff, alright? So in general, you are good to go with some plus skills, some FCR, and the white rune word. But in order to reach a 125 FCR, you need Viper. This gives 30%. Okay. You need an amulet with faster cast rate. You can try and trade for a blue one, which gives 3 to poison and bone and 10 FCR. Then obviously you will not have access to Arak. You use whatever belt, really. A really good one is Triangle, because of Cannot Be Frozen. Always nice to have. And you will use a 10 FCR ring and a spirit. Then you have 225 FCR. That's the cheapo setup, okay? That's the cheaper setup. But since this is more a guide about how to actually farm up 2k keys within one season, sooner or later you need Enigma, okay? Let's not beat around the bush here. This is not a budget build. If you think you can farm up that amount of keys with blue items, you will be disappointed. It won't work, okay? It absolutely won't work. So you need Enigma. Not only is this the most expensive armor in the game, and arguably the best, but as soon as you wear this, yes, you get teleport, but you lose cast rate. So how to make up for 30 FCR, right? You need a circlet, or yeah, you need a helmet like this with 20 FCR and preferably plus skills. These helmets can get insanely expensive if you are smart, and this is your season starter. This is your season starter, try to trade for this item as early as possible. For example, this one, I paid a sewer rune and a paladin torch for this within the first week of a season, and this is not even a good helm, okay? This is just a mediocre helm. These can get extraordinarily expensive, like the more rares it has, maybe life, maybe strength, whatever. Like it makes it even more expensive and more expensive and more expensive. The most important part though, skills, cast rate. That's only 20, so we are still missing 10 FCR. At a certain point, you will need a crafted amulet. you will need a crafted amulet. This is quite similar to the helm. Pretty expensive. While you can try craft one your own, I will not make a crafting guide out of this, but you should be at least level 39. Level 39, excuse me, level 93. The fuck? You need at least to be level 93 in order to have at least a chance to craft a decent one, in my humble opinion, alright? Yeah, I paid a high rune, I don't even remember, like a low rune or another sewer rune maybe even, within the first week of the season. So, yeah. To have the luxury of teleporting around with 225 FCR, which is ridiculously fast, it has a price. It has a price. So that would be the cheap setup. That would be the expensive setup, right? Other than that, Dark Force spawn, because of the cast rate and 3 to poison and bone skills. Whatever boots, really. That's totally up to you. I found boots. Wait, let's go to Helmut. Let's go to Helmut to show you the resistances and stuff. So, I found those. 30 run walk. So I'm pretty quick. And I'm nearly maxed out on resistances here. You can honestly use whatever boots. All the good uniques. If you want more magic find, War Traveler, that's totally up to you, right? The boots doesn't make or break the build. You could farm up 2,000 keys without boots. Ring plus skill. Belt, FCR plus skill. And the other ring plus skill. Yeah. Long story short, you want as many plus skills as you can. And you want to be you want to be high level. Because, which brings me to the skill tree. Oh, by the way, gloves for FCR. I show you the stats real quick. So, around 100 magic find, which is a pretty good value. You can have too much magic find, in my humble opinion. Alright? Like, magic find in this game is a whole science on its own. But I have the best. I found the best gear, and I had the best drops with around 100 to 200 FCR. So that's a pretty good value here. Now and then you will find a shaker from Nilatak, for example, and goodies like that. But yeah, cast rate. Where's the cast rate? So 130 cast rate. So I'm in the 125 preferred breakpoint. Of course, skiller, plus skills, plus skills, plus skills. Torch, any. My small charm inventory. I usually don't trade for small charms. This is just stuff I found while farming the keys, right? You could probably, or I should probably, get rid of this one. Get one with lightning resistance to max out. But yeah, doesn't make or break the build. Alright, guys. So that's the gear. Again, white, Enigma, FCR circlet, crafted FCR amulet, Dark Force spawn. Why no spirit? Because spirit has only 2 skills and this has 3. So yeah, just want more damage. That's it. You could run spirit if you want. That's totally up to you. Of course, CTA to buff. To be perfectly frank with you, one of the downsides I'd say is the build is a little bit squishy. Yeah, you gotta watch out, especially if you play hardcore, or even when I was G-rushing entire lobbies, players 8. If you get hit, like, it hurts. Even though I got bone armor and stuff, you get one shot easily. So keep that in mind. Very squishy, kinda squishy build. Let's go over the endgame skill tree. Oh, you know what? Stat point allocation. I mean, if you have Enigma, you can cheese the requirement of your gear. So it's the usual with like about 98% of all builds in this game, unless you want to run max block. Enough strength in order to wear your gear. Everything else, I would say everything else into vitality, but hear me out though. I know this guide is all over the place. Hear me out though. I usually run vitality only builds, okay? But I make an exception for the Bonemancer. So it's just a friendly recommendation from someone who has almost 3,000 hours in this game. Since season 1. Try with battle orders on. Like, let's say you got all your gear, you want like final form unlocked, you hit the respec button or you get a token or whatever, and you want to min-max your stats. Buff up and try to get around 800 mana. Because this build is ridiculously mana hungry. Especially if you teleport and cast spells. But if you have around 800 mana and a decent insight, this is a level 15 insight, you can get this even better. But if you, like, just a friendly recommendation. Thank me later, okay? Around 800 mana and you are good to go. You will never ever have mana issues with this build. If you go vitality only, this is almost unplayable. Believe me, been there, done that. With that being said, let's go over the endgame skill tree. So, the main attack is Bonespear. Sometimes I use Bone Spirit, because the ability is just fun. As you've seen in the intro, you can let declone Moonwalk, you can bug out the bosses. This also hits like a truck. If you are someone who likes PvP in Diablo 2, I'm not one of those people, but you could do something like, you could stack those up, right? You do something like this. And then the person gets hit with like 5 of those at once. But yeah, it's a fun ability to use. It's a little bit better against single target. Let's say you do let's say you rush someone. If there's only one other person in the lobby, it doesn't matter. You can just kill everything with Bonespear. But in the player's 8 lobby, I really need Bonespear. Like against Bone Spirit, excuse me. Like against Mephisto, player's 8 on Helmut. This is a little bit better, okay? But you will rarely use it. So, with that being said, 20 points into Bonespear. This is 51 right now due to an insane amount of plus skills. And white, of course. This alone gives +8. Max out Bonespear. Max out Bone Spirit. Max out Bone Prison and Bone Wall. The reason is it's a synergy to Bone Armor. That's just personal preference of mine, okay. That's a little bit a noob trap. I used to do this back in the day, way back in the day, and it's kind of wrong, because the synergies actually give more absorb per level than maxing Bone Armor itself. So 20, 20, max this, 20, 20, 1 point in Bone Armor, and all the remaining points into Teeth. Eventually you want to max this, because it's a synergy, right? But you need to be level 98, I think, to actually max all the synergies. That's like the main attack, damage, skill tree. Summoning spells, only 1 point into Clay Golem. Like, the thing is, you need so many points in this skill tree. Like, you could run some hybrid variation or whatever, but no, okay? Just no. You want this to hit like a truck and to be able to farm players 8 content eventually. So, yeah. Only 1 point in the Clay Golem because it slows enemies. That's kind of cool. Also, You could do stuff like you go to Andariel Hell mode and you zoom in, okay? And you hit Andariel with Decrepify, and your Clay Golem hits Andariel. Thank me later. 1 point into amp damage, because this is a very good synergy with Corpse Explosion. This deals 50-50, 50% fire damage and 50% physical damage. So Corpse Explosion will hit like a truck. Players 1, keep that in mind. The scaling for like players 8 is really, really bad on Corpse Explosion. Me personally, I don't even bother with amp damage. I just use Decrepify. The reason being, it just slows them. It just slows them down. Like, against bosses in general, they are time-lapsed. And especially when you start out with this character and you don't have 125 FCR yet, this helps tremendously with hitting the enemies. Right? If they are slowed down, it's way easier to aim a Bonespear to them, or onto them. That's just what I do. So 1 point into the curse. Also very, very good against Bale. As soon as Bale has Decrepify on him, he will stop using his abilities, like the annoying teleport, or he's not able to clone himself no more. So yeah, Decrepify is really good with this build. That's the endgame skill tree. Maybe Mercenary real quick. The only real mandatory item is Insight, and get whatever helmet and armor to keep him alive, honestly. Of course, eventually you want Fortitude and Andariels. But there's plenty of setups. But the most important thing is Insight, because this is a very mana-hungry build, as I mentioned before. Yeah, that's it. I don't know, like to all the doubters, you can believe me or not. I farmed. Oh, you know what? You know what? I'll show you the calculation behind this, okay? So I killed 256 Ubers in that particular season in which I played this build. Let's subtract a very generous 56. So that's 200 Ubers, okay? Why do I subtract some? Because I get key donations in-game. I trade for keys sometimes, like I sell the bad torches for keys. I do Uber service, I help people with Ubers, and so on and so on. So, let's say I actually farmed up the key sets for 200 Ubers. It's 200 times 9. That's still 1800 keys. So, yeah. And you can achieve this with a build like this. Just the fastest fuck character. You combine two of the best damage sources in the entire game. Bonespear, which is magic damage. Like there's almost next to no magic immune monsters in the game. And you combine this with Corpse Explosion. Everybody knows Corpse Explosion is kind of broken. Especially if you just farm keys on players 1. The runs are so ridiculously fast. You take literally seconds. A run takes literally seconds. Yeah, just rinse and repeat. You just rinse and repeat. I did nothing other than farming keys with this build. The only time I took a break live on stream was when someone asked for a rush. I was actually happy if someone asked for a rush, so I could take a break from farming keys, even though it's the most fun thing to do in Diablo 2 for me. But yeah, that's how you do it, man. That's how you farm approximately 2000 keys in one season. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Later.